And we are live, okay?
Good evening, witches.
Hi, witches. We have been trying to upgrade some of our video stuff, some sound equipment, and it's not always going as planned. And definitely with lives, you can't really pre-test it. So, Kat, go ahead and get your questions down because I know that you.
I'm okay. I got them.
You got it? Okay.
Yeah, I got them.
So we were playing around with a new web camera, which we used last week, and we thought that we sounded a bit of like we're in a tin can. And so if the audio is really bad for this one, we're working on it. We've got to figure out something else to do to get like lapel speakers or something. But we want the audio to be good. We want the video to be good as well, like as far as quality goes. So hi, Tracy.
Hi, Tracy.
Selena.
Hi, Selena.
Hi, you guys. So that was what we were just working on, is trying to get our system slightly updated or upgraded, or what would we call that?
Just updated.
Better.
We need better sound.
We need better sound. So next week we're gonna try lapel speakers. We just tried like a voice box speaker with a connection with the new camera that we've got, and it does not want to play nice together.
Yeah.
So,
hey, K Hopper, Steven. Hello.
Hi,
welcome.
guys. Yeah.
Okay, so is this episode 7 of the Witch Reacts?
Can somebody tell us? Because I do not know. I know that this is our last one that's scheduled. I will, after this meeting, I will go through and schedule the rest of them out. We are going to week 11, 12? How many?
I don't remember.
Because Kat is going to be starting her tarot class. Oh my gosh, you guys.
September 4th.
September 4th. It's 11 weeks long. We've been working pretty hard on that. Like, putting together a tarot class is a lot of brain work to figure out how to.
It is a lot of brain work.
Bring the cards to life and give the story and just all the things. So we're really excited to have that back on the regular meetup, where we'll be on Zoom calls starting on
every week,
September 4th.
Starting September 4th. Every Monday night at 7 p.m.
Back to the
And I'm getting ready
Mondays.
to announce that. I have a draft of the meetup, which I haven't announced yet. But I'm going to do that by August 4th. I'll announce it at least a month out, so people can get signed up. And I expect that we're going to have a lot of response to it, because I think tarot is something we've never done an extensive tarot class. We did a lot of like 1 hour class.
Did we? I mean, barely. When 2 years ago when we first started.
Or did we do it? Or was it just part of our divination?
We mentioned it in divination, but we never have gone through it.
So we haven't got into it, and this is going to be in depth. So it should be. It's exciting for me and for us, and we're learning. And
I've been using tarot a long time, you guys, and putting together this course to teach it, I was like, wow, I'm actually learning more stuff. Does the learning ever stop? No, probably not. Probably not.
It doesn't ever stop.
So, oh my gosh. Okay.
All right. Well, I'm gonna let you go first with your question.
Oh boy. Okay. Yep. Tonight it's me. I'm up. All right. I'm trying to think. I have like one that's sort of complicated and one that's more easy.
I have one. Okay.
Is yours the same?
I have one that's really easy, and then I have one that's
more complicated. Okay.
Yeah. So
I'm going to go with complicated first.
Okay.
Okay. I am in my crone years, which, if you guys don't know what that means you're usually like 50 and above. Okay. So this is a person in her crone years, and she just picked up Witchcraft. Yay. Awesome. So glad for her. Because that's when we really start wondering, right? Like, what's after this? My husband is a Christian of a certain denomination that I don't know the word. I was like, okay, I don't know what that practice is, but he's Christian, and he's not happy about it. So he's been a lifelong Christian, and maybe they were even practicing Christianity together, but now she is on her witch path. So she's new at it, and she's really wanting to discover who she is. And her husband is making it difficult for her to practice in the home. And you guys, they've been together like their whole lives. Okay. So I don't know her exact age, but she did say that she had been with her husband for almost 40 years. So this is not a new relationship. This is not a fling. This is not something that she would probably divorce this guy over.
They probably have kids that they raised together.
Yeah. Like this is a lifelong
period of time where they all went to church, and maybe the kids were baptized, I'm imagining. Yeah. So yeah.
So we're in that. Now she is wanting to get into her witch path. And so because he is making it difficult to practice in her home, like this is her home too. She's asking for tips, tricks, help, any advice you could give her to practicing witchcraft in her home with her husband, how to help her with that.
Well, it's so interesting that a crone, and I'm in the crone years too. So
Yes.
I know I look super young, but I'm the mom. She's the daughter. But you know what? That's really hard. I don't envy her in her position. And I guess the advice that I would have for her if I could talk to her was to tell her to leave the word witch out of it, and maybe to speak to her husband about this as a spiritual journey that does not revolve around a single God in heaven and hell and the beliefs that so many in organized religion have. That there's all, with a spiritual path, the difference in, I believe anyways, one of the differences, a spiritual path and a religious path is that on a spiritual path, we believe we are our own salvation, that we have that direct connection with spirit. And so we don't need church doctrine. We don't need anybody to tell us. So that would be the first thing, is to talk to him about spirituality and to not use the witch or witchcraft word,
Right.
because especially for lifelong Christians, that can be very scary.
Yeah.
And then the other things that she can do is, if she introduces things like, she just starts using crystals and candles and things. She could do that. She could have lots of crystals around her house. Her husband probably wouldn't think anything about it. She could have candles. But if she starts doing spell jars and altars and things, it's probably going to cause a conflict in their relationship. And so unless she's ready for that,
We have a lot going on.
That's that would be a way to start. So we do in our beginner witch series, we do talk about being in the broom closet and having to keep your journey private. And it's sad, but it's just not going to be something that she's going to be able to dive right into and talk to her husband about, obviously, because he's already telling her, you can't do this in my home.
Well, and it wasn't like she said those words, but he's really not pleased with it. And he's like, I don't like this journey you're going on. He's expressing his discontent for it. And I think it's probably making her feel a way about trying to learn to practice. So if you're learning something and you're just in those baby steps of the skills, right? That's really tough.
And, something else I thought of when you were saying that is, the other thing is that she can lead by example. So if she is accepting and loving and kind and all of these things that you might not expect from somebody who's getting resistance at home about something that they want to do that their spouse doesn't agree with, then if she can, I don't want to say turn the other cheek because that's not the right terminology, but if she can just show understanding toward him, that, she understands his feelings about it, but that this is her personal spiritual journey.
Yeah.
And she would never, she might be able to say things to him like, I would never impose my beliefs on your spiritual journey, so please don't do that to me. But it will be a balancing act for a while. And like I said, I would stay away from words like witchcraft and anything that's overtly witchy.
Occult words.
Yeah, the occult words. Yeah. And then do things like, you can do lots of things with crystals. You can do feng shui, all of that. You can do candle magic and he would never know. I mean, little altars. I have little altars around my house. Nobody would know what they are because it's just a couple of things like on a mirror or something. No one would ever guess that that's an altar. So that's my response. So
I love that. Great.
What would your response be to that question?
My response is also like, the language that we use to describe our practice is so important to help other people ease into it versus being like, using all of the heavily occult words, which occult means hidden or shrouded in secrecy. It's because they're very hard to define what it means for people. So if he thinks that witchcraft is evil, okay, well then don't call it witchcraft. Like, you can call it in your heart whatever you want to, but when you want to get along with somebody, I would say start out soft and easy by saying things like, I love the energy of things. Like, that's scientifically proven that things have energy. So I am trying to up my energy. I am trying to connect with the earth. So we can turn it towards the nature-based rituals or ceremonies that we might do, trying to find our witchy selves. That would be, so your whole thing about the language and just shifting that is pivotal, because the word witch or witchcraft does have that terrible connotation and history that everyone's like, oh, are you going to sacrifice something? Do I need to be worried about myself? Like, what are you going to be inviting into our house? Is it evil spirits? Are you trying to, summon something? Like,
Yeah, what
And
you don't want is if
Hollywood.
something breaks, car breaks down, it's like, did you hex me?
Yeah.
You know, silly things like that. So you
Yeah.
really need to.
Or even people blame bad stuff happening to them because somebody in their life is doing witchcraft and they're like, they're secretly going after me. It's like, I don't even give a shit about you. What do you mean? Like, why am I wasting my time trying to make your life worse? I'm actually trying to make my life better. And so people just don't understand that. They think that like witches get into their power to start trouble with everybody else. It's like, dude, if I had that much, I'd be lifting myself up. I'd be sitting on millions of dollars like in my own mansion and not worrying about you at all. So it's really not that deep. Again, it's part Hollywood. But what I would tell her to do is sit him down and talk about what he's actually afraid of. These are very pivotal questions in a relationship. What are your expectations? What are you afraid of in this? And then she just can squash him. Be like, so if he says, you know, are you going to be bringing dead animals or something weird, you know, skulls and bones? And some witches go that route. They collect things they find in nature that are skulls, bones, pieces of animals. That is their own business.
She's going to join a coven. I mean, we don't know what he knows.
Actual cult type stuff. You know?
We don't know what he knows about the witchcraft, except that the word, obviously.
The history and whoever's taught him something, you know? So it's like, that's what I would tell her. I was like, sit down and have a real conversation about what he's afraid of or what he thinks it means to practice witchcraft or be a witch, and then squash that, because most likely everything that he thinks it is, it's not that. Right. And it's not her purpose in joining it. So yay. Okay. All right. Now, time for your question.
Okay. So my question is pretty easy, but I think this is probably something that comes up for anybody who might be starting on this journey. And that is shadow work something a beginner witch can do, or is it something that you need to wait until you know more?
Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. So with shadow work is actually more the psychology and therapy side of witchcraft. And we call it shadow work because of some professors who coined the term, and it's about us and how we feel about the things that we've been through and then how that affects us in our waking lives. So our shadow work is normally in witchcraft about recognizing that we are greater than we thought we were, that all the troubles and tribulations that we've been through have knocked us down and made us feel less than. And when you decide that you're walking a witchcraft path or a spiritual path, you're reclaiming that power. You're reclaiming that energy back to yourself. You're telling everything else to fuck off, that you're not going to let it bother you, or you're working through it because it does bother you. Okay, we can't just erase our pains and our hurts, but work through them and go, now let me look at this from another perspective. Speaking of tarot, the Hanged Man card, okay, a new perspective shift. All right, if this bad thing happened to me and it was so pivotal in my life, in what ways could it have possibly helped me on my journey? When we start to really shift the way we look at our experiences and how they, you know, I want to say like shaped and formed us or hurt us or held us back. When you do your shadow work, you're actually breaking out of all of those things that you told yourself on why it happened, you know, that you were the messed up one, or like, you know, that you attract negativity, that you only attract bad men. Like, think about all these, the habits and the thoughts that we have about our lives and ourselves, the story that we tell ourselves about our lives. Shadow work helps shift that story, and you get to recreate. Like, you don't have to be a villain. You can be the hero in your story. You know, you can shift the perspective of how your life went instead of making you like subject to everybody else's BS. And you're really owning it and being like, okay, so for a long time, I didn't speak up. I'm changing that now. And that's what shadow work really does. Did I answer the question? Because I feel like I got off a little bit. I forget the question now. I don't know.
Well, it was, can I do shadow work as a new witch, or do I need to know more? So my answer to that would be, first of all, let's define what shadow work is, because it almost sounds like, because actually you already have all the knowledge for shadow work, and we call it shadow work, but it's the same thing as journaling, you guys. So if you don't want to call it your book of shadows, it's just a journal. And really for me, and I think for a lot of us, what happens with shadow work is we're not always writing things in our journal, but when bad stuff or really hard times come in our life is when we start having to dig deep to figure out how to deal with this situation differently, with a new mindset or a new perspective. Like Jamie said, instead of maybe reacting the way that we did in the past, or let's say as a brand new witch, you're trying to get on that path of like, I'm going to be I want to be my high self, right? I want to be kinder, gentler, more understanding. I'm not going to judge people, all of those things. I know this was an evolution for me, and I'm still going through it. Although I'm a lot better than I was like 4 years ago. But what happens to us when we first start out, I think, at least my own personal experience, is that while you have these intentions, what happens is when things come up, like with family members, especially, because that's a really tough one because those relationships are so close and you've gone through lots of things together, right? So then you have a family situation and you find yourself saying and doing the same things that you did a long time ago that you know you could handle it better. And that's, for me anyway, that's where the shadow work comes in, when I can sit back and like reflect, okay, here's how I handled it. And here was the result that I got, which I knew wasn't going to be good because I've done this like 50 other times in my life with this person. So how can I handle this better? Because to me, the whole reason to even be into witchcraft and to get on this path is to be a better person and do better in the world and be kind to people. And that's not always easy to do because our egos get in the way, our feelings. And, you know, especially when you get a little bit older, you get more stubborn and set in your ways, and it's harder to make those changes.
You get sassy.
So you learn to bite your tongue and keep those things to yourself because they're not helpful. So anyway, did I answer the question? Because I feel like I got off on it.
So can somebody start out with shadow work? Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Start where you want to start. You know, if shadow work is what draws you to the craft, then yes, start there. And you will learn within shadow work that you're going to start using other tools to help you navigate. And you just start adding stuff to your witchcraft plate, you know, or your witchcraft shelf, where it's like, all right, well, this practice is really helpful. Or you tried this and you're like, I'm going to gift that book to somebody because that didn't really fit me. And you just start where you're pulled to, you know. I think that's one of our biggest questions is like, where do I start?
Yes.
And my immediate, question back is like, where do you want to start? What are you drawn to? Do that.
Mm-hmm.
Do that for as long as the passion is driving you. And then when you want to switch gears, that's the other thing. It doesn't all happen in a straight line. Switch gears. All right, do shadow work for a month, and then you're like, I need a break. Let me start something else. That's what witchcraft truly looks like. It's like a journey like this.
So is that your answer? Because I think or did you answer first? I can't remember.
Yeah, we both answered already. Yeah.
All right. So it's your turn then for the next question.
Oh boy. Okay.
So is this the easy one?
No. I feel like this is a more simple one. I really do. All right. And I chose this one because it definitely reflects part of my story and what I've dealt with. I suffer from severe anxiety, and I feel like I've heard this from a lot of witches because most of us are sort of empathetic and we feel what other people are feeling. So I suffer from severe anxiety, and I need a spell or a ritual that could help. I already use tarot and crystals in my daily rituals to help bring center and grounding to myself, but now I need a next step. So she sounds like she's pretty new at this. She didn't give a lot more, and it's just, what would be the next step? If you've already integrated tarot and crystals and you're still needing something to reduce your severe anxiety, what would you offer her as a next step?
Oh my gosh. Marijuana, is it legal in your state? because sometimes you need something medicinal that's a little bit stronger than, so I don't know if you're against that, but it has become a popular, or I don't know, not popular. I want to say popular.
It's popular in our world.
Popular is not the right word. It has become
acceptable
and recognized as a way to treat certain disorders in our society. And people are much more accepting of it. And if you are opposed, because sometimes you need a little medicinal help, and that's okay when we do. So if you really have, if anxiety or any kind of these, anxiety or PTSD or depression or any of those, I think sometimes there's a time to seek medical attention, because we can't solve everything with spells and we can't solve everything with crystals and teas as much as we want to. We need outside intervention, and I think that's okay. So personally, I would go the natural route and get gummies, try gummies or something like that, because they can be very mild. But I think it's okay to accept that you need to see a doctor if this is something that's really having an impact on your life and you're not able to enjoy it. And so that's my answer.
That's your go-to for
that. I mean, it would be, because it's just like, Well, I mean, I think we had this question last week. It's like, my husband's really sick. He's been sick for 3 days, you know.
We did a
and-
short on that.
Oh,
or
okay.
something.
My husband's very sick.
Yeah.
He's been sick for 3 days. I need a spell. I'm like, no, you need a doctor. If your husband's been sick for 3 days, he needs to go to the doctor.
Yeah.
There's a time for our craft and using it, and then there's a time to use modern medicine, and
Yeah.
that's what I would say, because it sounds like she's doing all of the things that I can think of that you might do, unless exercise or nature or anything. I know she said sound crystals and
tarot. All
Yeah.
she said was crystals and tarot are what she's
Okay.
learned so far.
Okay.
So you know what? I brought this as a question so that I could explain something that I feel like I've never really said it before, but our mental state, our feelings are all vibrations, right? So if we know that things like crystals can help with our vibrations, you know, you have stones around you that can really complement the environment that you're in. But when you need something stronger, I really turn to sound healing, you know, and I'm not talking about going to a class necessarily. I'm talking about music you can get on your phone that you have, you know, noise canceling headphones with just that music playing, and it can bring your vibration to a better state. Because I suffer from anxiety and PTSD, and when I really need it, and I can't take a gummy because I just go to bed with those. They're just for sleep aids for me. So I need to be able to get through my day and bring myself down. What do? You know, and music for me, and this can be there's a channel on our YouTube channel that we promote called like Brainwave something, and they have hundreds of videos. I was gonna say thousands, but I think it's just hundreds of videos that are hours long where you can put on that music and you can vibrationally emit a tone or a pitch, a frequency that helps bring about a calmness within your environment. And so you can tune yourself like a tuning fork as well. When you get around those energies and that frequency of sound, you can actually bring yourself down using that. I use singing bowls within my home all the time. I actually just, I don't know, who was I with? Was I with you and Jolene? Oh my gosh. No, I was with two friends at my house, and it might have been you. I can't remember.
Was it when Amber was over?
Yes, when Amber was over.
Okay.
So I did a singing bowl cleansing within my living room because I've had like workers in there and stuff, and I hadn't done anything in my living room in a couple months. And I got to this one corner of my room, you guys, and I did the singing bowl, and it was like it's in my hand. There's no reason for it to stop or not sing.
It
I was
literally
like,
did just stop.
that was so weird. And I said, I was like, that was weird. And I tapped it again and kept going around the space. And I was like, okay. Later that evening, when the sun went down, I turned my lights on. The light bulb in my ceiling was out as well. And I'm like, ooh, okay, I need to work some stuff over here because like something disrupted something. Like, I don't know. I don't really read into it too much. I just go, oh, wow. Well, okay, then that means, you know, I probably should do something with the feng shui in these two spaces. But when you use your sound energy, you're changing the vibration of your body. Like that's what's possible with sound healing. Going to a class is amazing. Like we've done sound healings before where it's a group of like 10 or 15 people and they've got the crystal bowls, they've got other tools and stuff. It can really shift you in a way. So getting that at home, buying that simple tool is what I would suggest. The other one, of course, I repeat it all the time, man. If music changes our frequency, so does the words that we say. So having an affirmation or a mantra that you repeat to yourself that lines you up, that the more that you repeat it, you're able to actually bring yourself into that state of like, you know, I'm fine, I have no reason, like whatever the words would be that would fit with that. You know, I don't ever say things like, I'm not scared or I don't know.
Yeah.
Mine was mostly, when I used it, it was anxiety with driving, and it helped me because I had to repeat it for my entire 20-minute drive. Eventually my anxiety with driving went away because of that, because I was able to tune myself to be less anxious about, you know, driving in bad traffic. Did you answer? You did answer yours first, right?
I did. I think so. Yeah, I
sometimes
think
I'm
so
not
because
great
that was
about
not. I know.
Okay, it is your question next,
Okay.
ma'am.
All right. So this is a more complicated one. I feel like this is somebody who sought advice because their husband cheated on them with somebody that they had a bad feeling about. So she was already picking up energy about this person.
Intuition.
She had a feeling about this person, and the affair went on for a couple of months. And of course, he says it's not serious, and they want to try to fix it. And she wants a spell. Her ask was, what's a spell I can do to move past this and help me forgive him? You know, she's in a lot of pain, of course. And,
I feel
you
for
know,
her.
so she's looking for, Yeah, so she's looking for something to alleviate the hurt in her heart, and then to have forgiveness for him for what he has done, how he's hurt her. So
Oof.
yeah, that's
Well, this is shadow work. I mean, think about that. We started this with shadow work, and this is definitely a shadow work question, because when you have been wronged, and it's okay to say that, when you have been victimized, because we are, being a victim is not something that we're
betrayed.
Yeah,
betrayed.
It's all of these things, right? I can't even, you guys, I can't even with the cheating stuff, man. Lying and cheating for me is like, it's a death sentence. You will no longer ever be in my life, ever again. That's it. It's done.
Yeah.
Bury it. It's done. I'm not coming back from that. I just don't. But for her wanting to, I commend her. I'm like, wow, that's really gracious. It's much harder to give advice to somebody that I would rather tell them, like, leave. Okay. My thinking used to be like, once a cheater, always a cheater, truly. But I do believe that people can change. And sometimes it takes them going through something, as intense. Like if he knew he was going to lose her and he's like, okay, well, I tried this other thing. I'm like, no, I don't really want that. But that takes so long to uncover, to understand, to really get to like the root of what the cheating was about. Like, why be with another woman? What was it? Was it excitement? Was it passion? Was it just attractiveness? Was it that they were different? Did they have a kink that that this other person doesn't do? You need to figure that out first. Like, what brought the two of them together? Because once you really look into that, it's like, maybe you can admit to yourself, maybe I'm not the right person for you. Maybe I should move on. Maybe this is something that I need to work through and not try to hang on to a relationship where I'm not the person for them. And so they're not the person for me. And that's what you actually need to heal from or be okay with. But it would take a lot of talking. I don't think I have a good answer, actually. Because I'm too pissed off about cheating. I don't know that I have like a healthy, nice, calm, beautiful answer for this. I'm more like, get angry. Fuck that. No, that's a total betrayal of trust, time, space, everything.
My biggest problem with it is that he's like, it wasn't a big deal. It wasn't a big deal, but it went on for 2 months. And so, number one, there has to be a come to goddess meeting, because he has to admit, if you will, that it is a big deal, because it's a big deal to me.
That's right.
And if you care about me, then it is a big deal. And whoever that person is has to be like completely out. I don't know if it's a friend or whatever, but there can be no more. So, and then
so many layers.
Yes, it is so many layers. So I don't think that there is. I think what there is for this in terms of witchcraft is, like Jamie said, this is shadow work. This is where you're going to spend a lot of time probably crying and writing and working through what you really, and processing, like, what are your real feelings about this?
Mm-hmm.
And what really is this relationship about? And is this a relationship that you really want? Do you really want to save it, or are you just hurt right now and this is comfortable? Because we get like that, with somebody. And then we don't want to upset the apple cart. We don't want to have to start over. We don't want to split up households.
Upset the apple cart?
Yeah. Upset the apple cart.
Anybody heard that one before? This is brand new language for me. What is upset the apple cart?
Tracy will know. Anybody close to my age will know upset the apple cart. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'll educate her after the class.
Okay.
It's just
now we're all going to have to look that one up.
Somebody Google that upset. It means when you're going along, the horse is pulling the apple cart, and then you hit a bump in the road and the apple cart spills and the apples spill out. Something like that. I don't know where it came from, but it's just the same. It
came from 150 years ago when we used carts and horses to drag our apples around. That is totally not even the point. But it's just funny.
Yes. As for a spell, let me get back to my.
Sorry, Tracy. Okay, Tracy's putting me in line. I'm sorry. My husband always says this to me, though.
Let me get back to my answer.
I love what you're saying. You're right.
Okay, now, if you really do want a spell, what you could do a spell for, or you could get crystals for in a situation like this, is like, we have like Apache Tears is a really good crystal for grief, for any kind of grief. Let's see. So there are some crystals that are associated with dealing with grief and hurt and pain in your life and loss, because this is a loss. This is a loss of trust.
Yeah.
This is a loss of feeling like you're enough as a woman. It's just so many things. I share my daughter's feelings 100%, because cheating for me that's the nail in the coffin. Now, do you know that one?
Yes. Even though
because we don't use
nails
coffins. We don't use
in
nails and we don't
coffins.
use coffins. They're called caskets in the United States. So
I mean, there's like coffin stuff at Halloween though.
Okay.
So like coffin shape.
all right. So that's a tough one, but that is something that happens a lot. And I hope that for anybody who is listening to this and has found themselves in that kind of a situation, that something we said will help you, but just know that it's going to hurt and it's going to take a while and you're going to have to process through it. And there's really not, I don't know of a spell. I don't know that I would recommend that a spell is even something that you would want to seek out, because I'm not sure that would, with spell work, you have to say, okay, maybe this is something that we should talk about. Like with spell work, you're setting an intention. So if you want to have the intention of forgiveness, then I guess you could set the spell work to help me forgive. So you could do a spell for forgiveness, or you could use crystals for forgiveness. Trust, you could do a relationship building spell. I was going through a spell book looking for ideas for like shorts and stuff, and I found one where you sew his and her used underwear together, like get a pair of his underwear, get his underwear and her underwear, a golden thread, and they should be used. This is what the spell said, but then sew them together. And then as you're doing that, which when you think about how therapeutic that would be, because you got underwear, you're going to sew them together, the two pieces together, or the two pairs together. And while you're doing that, you would be manifesting your intention about what you want to bring you closer together, to heal your relationship, to heal whatever's going on in your bedroom, or to make it better, more romantic. But it's a tough situation, and I'm very sorry for anybody who's going through that, because been there and it's not fun.
On the flip side of this, what if you really need a spell to break away? Because this is a clear indication. Again, a one-time cheat, there are things that could be like the exception, right? A one-time cheat, they were wasted out of their mind or some crap.
No,
like,
it was a 2-month affair.
But that's what I'm saying. There's like that, right? Where maybe there could be forgiveness because it's like I kissed somebody at a bar when I was super drunk, or sex is totally different. I don't know. There's a lot of effort that has to go into doing that. You're not time to think stuff.
Tracy gave the answer. Go ahead. Sorry.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thanks, Tracy. I didn't actually know what it meant. It was to change people's plans or expectations in a way that they don't expect. So, and don't appreciate. Yeah.
I don't appreciate you messing with my apples. Yes, that's going to be stuck in my head now.
My apples.
So it's
2 of them.
I think that there's, you know what's inside of an apple, everybody?
Seeds.
A pinnacle. Mom, a pinnacle.
I was going to say seeds.
Yes.
Like this.
And a pinnacle. So it's a magical fruit. Did anybody else just hear the beans thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Beans, magical fruit.
Oh, we're cracking ourselves up. Okay.
All right. Did you have anything else to add? Because we are at 7:34, and last week we ran over,
like
so we
10
do want to
minutes,
let you guys get back to your evening. And I think we can wrap it up unless you have something else that you wanted to add.
I think my biggest takeaway is like some shit you're not supposed to fix. Some shit's supposed to die. Let it die. And there's the other saying that can go with that if it comes back to you, it's always yours, or something like that. But let it die first. Find yourself outside of this relationship that has betrayed you. No matter what that looks like, whether it's a job, a family member, a spouse, a boyfriend, a kid, like people who cross your boundaries and then they're like, it wasn't serious. I swear it's not, like, it's nothing. It's nothing. That's gaslighting.
It didn't mean anything.
That's gaslighting.
It meant something because you were hitting that shit for 2 months.
I have such vulgar language I could speak right now, and I'm just going to tame my inner sailor of like how awful that is. But that's not.
Don't cheat, you guys.
That's not respect. And if somebody doesn't respect you, you shouldn't be with them if they don't respect you. So hold true to your boundaries. And when people don't want to respect them, then you can shoo them right out the door with your,
Well, it's time to start looking for an exit. You might not be able to shoo them out the door. If there's children and there's a lease and there's a mortgage and there's, once we get in a relationship, there's entanglements that have to be untangled, and that's hard. And so...
Also, there are lots of little additives online that can make people have diarrhea. And there's always that kind of revenge while you're living in the same home. I'm just saying.
I can't even believe she's saying that.
I'm not above that. I'm not above that.
All right, you guys.
If you're entangled in something and you can't break free of it, at least you can watch them embarrass themselves.
Jamie.
Okay.
We don't do things like that.
It's the best I could do without cursing and saying
Jamie.
other awful things.
Yeah,
Okay.
we don't. She would not. She actually would not do that.
You underestimate me.
I guess I do. All right, you guys. And with that, thank you so much for being with
Okay.
us tonight. Steven, none of your business. Tracy,
None of your
Shelly, Selena,
K Hopper,
yeah,
Steven.
we really appreciate
Oh,
you guys.
thank you for being
We
here with
really
us.
appreciate you guys being with us tonight, and we hope to see you next week.
Yeah. Have a great weekend.
Bye.
Bye.
Are they going to get to go to dinner?
I think they're gone.